Good morning, traders. This is your daily market breakdown. On the GBP USD, I'm on the 4-hour time frame. We can see that the price has pushed up quite aggressively. The price has come back down, somewhat re-entering this fair value gap. I don't think it has, so I still believe it wants to move down a little bit more. If we look out at the daily time frame, we can see that we are in a downtrend, but we are now in this area of consolidation, and it's a bit of a dangerous area. So what I'm waiting for is to see whether or not the price does re-enter into this potential supply zone, because on the 4-hour frame, we can see that it did just about tap in, but I don't believe it's gone all the way. And so what we might end up seeing today or throughout into next week, because this is a highly fundamental week, we may see the price move up into the upside, and then we'll see an aggressive move down. Or what we'll end up seeing is the price begins to trickle down back into this unverified demand zone before then pushing up aggressively. So that would be my play. It's a very cautious play for today and going into next week. I think a lot of investors are just waiting for this economic data to come out before we see any real movement. So I'm actually staying away from this market at the moment because of the conflict in Iran. It's very uneasy, and I think a lot of traders are just waiting to see how that plays out. If we head over to the DXY, we can see that our trades have played out. So back in Tuesday, we identified this as being our first level of support. The price came down. It hit that level of support. We can then see it has reversed, hitting the second level of, or the level of resistance. This will be our second level. And now what we might end up seeing is this push into the downside. So we can see that the price came down to this level of support and then pushed itself back up to the 99.238 level. And now it's looking to push itself down. So if this is true, again, this is very reliant on the news that is going out at the moment. And so what we could end up seeing is just consolidation until something becomes more clear in the Strait of Hormuz. And once we see something occur, whether or not the ceasefire sticks or the conflict continues, then we're going to see a break. And if we break the 99.238, then we're likely going to be returning back to these levels up here. If we see a break below the first level of support, so around the 98.505, then we're likely going to see it continue moving into the downside. So this today and maybe into next week is more of a waiting game. If we are following the technicals, this would be my play on the DXY. This is what I'd be looking for. I'd be waiting for a nice break of structure here with a full body break. And then this might be a bit of a confirmation for me to enter into a short position targeting this unverified demand zone for a 1 to 2.2 risk to reward ratio. That's how I'll play, but I'm staying out of the market this week until a trend becomes more clear. If we head over to gold, any of you who had followed the Tuesday daily market breakdown would have TP'd if you had followed that. If you had followed that trade. So we saw that the price pushed up into this potential liquidity zone, marked now as a verified liquidity zone, and it began to push down. What we were waiting for was that body break below this break of structure line, and then we would have entered our trade at around about here, and then we would have TP'd. So at the moment, what we are seeing is also a bit of consolidation. What I would likely be waiting for is to see the price come back down and retest this unverified area of demand before then looking for a potential long position. It will be a short-lived long position, in my opinion. Especially, again, this is all reliant on how the DXY reacts. But I would like to see the price come down here. I would then maybe take a position. So I'd like to see that the price comes down into this demand zone, this unverified demand zone, and then maybe push itself back up, trying to target this unverified supply zone that it will leave behind, and then re-enter into a short position targeting new lower lows. That would be my play for gold today going into next week. Again, it's relying on the DXY. So we can't really make this judgment call so easily. But I would be looking for the price to retrace down to here. I'd look for a long to trade the pullback, and then I would trade into the downside, the short, because we are bearish on gold at the moment. In addition, we can see a substantial amount of resting liquidity below all of these lows. And I think the market wants to come down and take that liquidity, a very similar move that we saw on the DXY a couple of days ago. Heading over to BTC on the live stream, I was bearish, but as you can see, the market, I didn't enter into that position, but this was only a potential shorting position that you could have taken. If you had taken that position, unfortunately, you would have been stopped out. Very aggressive, a very annoying position as well, because we saw this huge rejection candle just push through that stop loss. I think it was trying to grab extra liquidity that was resting above these areas here before then pushing itself back down. And now we're seeing that it pushes itself up with a nice breaker structure into the upside. So what we're starting to see on BTC is a potential bullish reversal. And what we would like to ideally wait for is to see whether or not the price retraces back into this unverified demand zone. If it does, I'll look for some type of reaction before then taking a long position. And again, I will be keeping a close eye on the DXY, because if the DXY goes down, then almost everything else goes up, aside from gold. And so I would be keeping a very close eye on the DXY when trading BTC today and going into next week. So thank you for watching, and I'll be sure to make more comprehensive breakdowns into next week.